It's the official start of the 2024 season now, ain't it? Yeah. Week 0 is great. You get a handful of games, and hey, we got a pretty good one this year with Florida State and Georgia Tech. And we even got to see a big upset right off the bat with Florida State going down, a point and laugh special. Reality crashing in on the Florida State man on the internet. And the start of the college football season is great and amazing for a whole lot of reasons. But one of the reasons, and it doesn't get talked about enough, I don't think, but one of the best parts about the start of the college football season is something that Florida State fans experienced last weekend, and it is reality. Reality cannot be avoided once games start being played, once the season actually starts, right? The offseason is the land of delusion. And everyone gets lost in it from time to time, from off-season to off-season. Hell, I've been guilty of it myself, so I'm not even necessarily putting anybody down or any fan base down. But one of the great parts about the season starting and games being played, and more importantly, outcomes of games, winners, losers, is that reality becomes impossible to escape. And just like every offseason, we've got a handful of teams this year that, number one, are in desperate need of some reality. And on top of that, number two, we've got a whole bunch of fan bases that are about to get force-fed some reality, like Florida State fans did this past weekend. So, the slate of games coming up for these next 5 days, right? Starts tonight. Colorado and North Dakota State play at 8 o'clock. I'll be live streaming the game, by the way, if y'all want to come hang out and watch Colorado and North Dakota State tonight at 8. We'll be live streaming it right here on the channel. And right away, we get an opportunity for yet another point and laugh special. If Colorado loses this game, it's going to be absolutely hilarious. Whether or not Colorado loses today, reality is coming for the Colorado man, or more accurately, the Dion Prime man, or the Prime Stan. Reality is coming yet again this season for the Prime Stans. Will it come tonight? We'll find out at 8 o'clock when they take on North Dakota State. I've actually picked Colorado to go ahead and win this game. I'd kind of like the Dion Stans to stick around for another couple of weeks. Last season, they loved the first 3 weeks of the season, and they were everywhere. And then the Oregon game came around, and they disappeared like a fart in a windstorm. You couldn't find them. They were tumbleweeds blowing through an empty street. You didn't find them anywhere. And I don't want the Dion Stans to have to disappear right away. The very first game of week 1 of the 2024 season. So I'm asking reality to hold off a bit for the Dion Stan, but reality doesn't always listen. And they could lose today. They definitely could lose today to North Dakota State. I've got them winning. We'll see. But we've got a whole weekend's worth of games, and there are some top 10 teams that could go down. Reality is a hard pill to swallow, but like I said, some fan bases are going to be force-fed that reality here starting this weekend. Let's look at some of this schedule of games here coming up. We already talked about the one tonight, Colorado, North Dakota. Tomorrow, I don't know. Not a great slate of games tomorrow. I mean, we got some interesting teams. Oklahoma plays. They host Temple. Wisconsin hosts Western Michigan. The only Power 4 versus Power 4 matchup is TCU and Stanford. So just not a whole lot to really look forward to for tomorrow. But then comes Saturday. And look, some top 10 teams might lose. We've already had one top 10 team lose this season. Florida, for some reason, the AP was dumb enough to have Florida State ranked in the top 10. Why, I don't know. I had them, I think, 16, and I've dropped them out of the top 25 now. They just looked absolutely abysmal and horrific. So they were the first reality victim of the season. Georgia, a ranked versus ranked opponent here. Georgia versus Clemson. Reality coming for one of these two teams. Maybe it's Georgia. I don't know. I haven't seen Georgia lose a regular season game in 4 years, but I'm sure at some point they'll lose another regular season game. Will it be this weekend? I don't know. It's more likely it'll be Clemson that loses, but you got Georgia and Clemson. Penn State plays on the road at West Virginia. Penn State's a top 10 team. This is probably the most likely top 10 loss honestly. And not saying that they'll lose, but from an odds perspective, this is a tough spot here for Penn State going into a hostile environment against what I think is an underrated West Virginia team with a really good quarterback in Garrett Green. It's possible reality comes crashing down for Penn State in week one. What else do we have in terms of some ranked opponents that could be eating some humble pie? Well, Tennessee hosts Chattanooga in a preseason game. Oklahoma State, same thing. They play South Dakota State. South Dakota State, a decent FCS team. But Oklahoma State's 17th in the AP. I've got them even higher than that. They should be able to handle South Dakota State. But, what about Ohio State? Akron? Ohio State's probably going to have to wait a while to swallow their reality. I doubt that's happening this week. Miami and Florida. Now, Florida's not ranked, but Miami is. Miami's inside the top 20 in almost every single ranking you look at. And now that Florida State has gone down, the chances of Miami maybe finally competing for an ACC championship get bumped up a little bit. I mean, them, Clemson, NC State, Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech, Louisville. ACC looks wide open right now. If Miami loses this game, that's going to be bad. That's going to be real, real bad for them. What other ranked teams do we have that might embarrass themselves this week? Are there any? Alabama and Western Kentucky? Ole Miss and Furman, Kansas State and UT Martin? Come on now. Notre Dame and Texas A&M. Guaranteed ranked team to lose here. So there's two ranked versus ranked. Georgia versus Clemson and Notre Dame versus Texas A&M. So two ranked teams are losing at least, right? Because you're guaranteed ranked losses in these two games involving ranked opponents. So Notre Dame, the higher ranked team in the top 10 in almost every ranking. The AP's got them at 7. I've got them in my top 10. They got to go on the road to a Texas A&M team that, in my opinion, for no reason at all, the AP's got them ranked 20th. I don't know what Texas A&M has done really any point in the last decade to deserve a 20th preseason ranking, but the AP, in all their infinite wisdom, does have Texas A&M at 20. And Texas A&M is actually favored by Vegas over Notre Dame at home by about 2.5 or 3 points. I don't know which way this game's going to go. I've got no idea. I've picked Notre Dame to win. I think Notre Dame's a potential playoff team. I think Texas A&M's the 8th best team in the SEC. If Notre Dame goes down there and loses to the 8th best team in the SEC, that's going to be some hard reality for Rudy to swallow. And a hilarious bit of reality, too. The potential for a point and laugh special here, in my opinion, if Notre Dame can't beat what most people think is the 7th or 8th best team in the SEC, Texas A&M, absolute poverty. Absolute poverty for the Notre Dame man if they don't get that job done. Michigan plays Fresno State. Fresno State's a good group of 5 team, and they're not intimidated by playing the Power 5. They played a lot of Pac-12 teams. Not comparing Michigan to that, just saying Michigan should win this game. It's a home game. They're far more talented than Fresno State. I'm just pointing out that Fresno State won't be intimidated just because they're playing a power opponent. They are used to that. Anything else in the world of ranked matchups here? Arizona hosts New Mexico, should have no problem. Monday night, another ranked versus ranked. Not Monday, Sunday. Southern Cal and LSU. Holy moly, what an amazing game. Wouldn't y'all have loved to have seen this game last year? Caleb Williams versus Jaden Daniels, and no defense at all on either team. Just two horrifically bad defenses last year. Probably both going to be pretty bad defenses again this year. Both teams have brand new quarterbacks. Probably going to be a lot of points scored in this one. I trust Lincoln Riley more to replace a high-end quarterback than I do Brian Kelly. I like Nussmeier at LSU, but Miller Moss looks like he's the next, big thing quarterback-wise for Lincoln Riley. Should be an interesting game. LSU's about a 4, 5, or 6 point favorite, depending on where you look or when you looked. I actually think Southern Cal can beat LSU, but I think that's going to be a great game. One of the best games of the weekend, I think. Neutral site game in Vegas. And then, of course, Monday night, Florida State gets a chance to embarrass themselves again on national television with everyone watching. But, that's the thing about last Saturday. It was the only game on, week 0. It's not a normal Saturday where you've got some people watching this game, some people watching a different game, some people watching that game. Everybody watched Florida State shit on their own foot last weekend. And because this game comes on Labor Day, Monday night, and it's the only game on, everybody's going to be watching it again. Florida State better not dribble down their own leg for the second week in a row. What if by the end of week 1, Florida State is 0-2 in conference play? It would be unbelievable. The line is down to about 15 points in that one. Before they lost to Georgia Tech, they were a 3-touchdown favorite. Florida State was down to about 15. I actually like Florida State in that game. Florida State playing at home. A lot to prove here, kind of trying to shut a lot of people up. I think Florida State probably plays a good game and wins by 2 or 3 touchdowns there. But anyway, reality is coming. It's the start of the 2024 college football season, and reality is coming, and you can't deny it. In the offseason, there's no way to prove anybody wrong. It's a never-ending argument of I think my team's going 100-0. No, they're not. They're going 0-100. No, they're not. They're going 100-0. No, they're not. They're going 0-100. And there's no proving it because there's no games being played. There's no reality in place to push back against the delusion. That ends today. That ends today with week 1 of the 2024 college football season kicking off at 8 o'clock tonight with Colorado and North Dakota State. Reality is coming like a fucking tidal wave, and some of these teams are going to get drug out to sea. I'll be live tonight at 8 o'clock for North Dakota State and Colorado. Come hang out. We'll have a good time. Until then, though, have a good morning.